They did it. They actually did it. The Buffalo Sabres are above 500 for the first time all season. 2 games over 500.
Never thought I'd see the day. May I shed a tear. I shed a tear the other night.
I actually was a bit in disbelief that they came out of this. Not only that they came out of this trip above 500, but even the Sharks game, man. All the odds were against them. Jersey retirement night for Joe Thornton. Still no Tage Thompson. Guys are banged up from the night before. For some reason, the Anaheim to San Jose, that was the back to back, even though they were in SoCal for the LA game and Anaheim, but then they had to do the travel the day after the Anaheim game. And above all else, the penalties were what, 6-1 in favor of the Sharks.
Yep.
And James Reimer started, not even UPO.
Well, I mean, it was a James Reimer revenge game. They did have that going for them.
That's a good point.
And he played really well. He played very well.
He played very, very well.
That's the type of backup you need, you know? Small sample size, few games here and there, steals you a few wins. He played fantastic.
But the Buffalo Sabres have swept the California trip for the first time since 2011, 2012.
Could you remember anything about 2011?
Well,
Because I can't.
I didn't go back and look, but I'm kind of wondering, does that one really count? Because they didn't they play the Kings or was it was just the Kings, right? Didn't they play the Kings in Germany?
I saw people tweeting about that, and they said that it doesn't really count. And if so, this would be the first time since the Ducks came into the league that we swept the West Coast trip,
Oh my
which
God.
was 93, I
Oh
think.
my
Oh
God.
my, how could they never have done it once?
Jesus.
That's
That's
insane.
actually nuts.
Yeah, that's an
But
insane stat.
but hey, yeah, good teams find ways to win, and they found a way to win 3 games, even though they were ugly. I will say, did fall asleep during the Anaheim game, woke up during the second intermission. As soon as the third period started, fell asleep again, woke up for overtime, and saw them win an OT, which was nice. It was a good way to go to bed.
The commitment this week has been very lackluster out of you, I gotta
Dude,
say.
Christian's been tested. He has
Bro,
never been happier for an 8 o'clock
bro,
puck drop
I
than last
was
night.
so happy that the game was at 8 o'clock last night. I was trying. I had I was just watching the game. It's like it hits you out of nowhere. It's like you don't even feel tired, and then you're just laying down and just like a frying pan to the face. You're just out. And then you wake up, and then especially going down 2-0, I was just like, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. Then woke up to it being 2-2, and I was like, yes, let's go. Fell back asleep. Well, it didn't get me pumped up enough to stay up. I just fell right back asleep and missed the third period.
Welcome back to yet another episode of the Sabre Roundtable. My name is Jonah,
I'm Christian.
Now I'm JP.
and as always, we will be talking to you about all things Buffalo Sabres hockey and even a little bit of the wider NHL. The Buffalo Sabres currently reside in a playoff spot. Not just any playoff spot, third place in the Atlantic Division. Heading into Thanksgiving week, no less. The Thanksgiving benchmark is right there. They do have a 4-day layoff between games until their next game this coming Wednesday. So maybe there's a chance that they're sitting out of one, but I still feel like there's I still feel like it's possible that if they win Wednesday, they will be in a playoff spot. And I think that's the first time that they might have been in a playoff spot for U.S. Thanksgiving since 1819, 10-game win streak.
The year 1819?
Yeah.
I gotta say, I didn't appreciate your tweet today. I just think it's completely bad voodoo. I saw that and I was like, you gotta be kidding
I
me.
saw somebody talking about it. I don't know what they were talking about exactly. I think it was like, they were like, oh, 10, or it's been however many years since the winning streak, this and that. And then I just went back and I think it just was just scrolling through my tweets and I'm like, damn, like it's been 6 years to the day since they beat the Red Wings. and we're first place in the NHL with 9 wins in a row.
Yeah, way to kill the vibes, Jonah. We were riding high until that tweet.
That's on me.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
my
like
bad.
that.
Bad voodoo. But the Sabres currently are heading in to Thanksgiving week. 2 games at home, Thanksgiving Eve and Black Friday on a 3-game win streak. The vibes have not been this high in quite some time.
Yeah, I know. Go back, what, 2 episodes, and everyone we were unloading on this team, man.
Am I allowed to enjoy this?
We are going to enjoy this. We are going to enjoy this. But yeah, it feels good, to be sitting in a playoff spot. And it just feels good to be winning games. Like even going back like I really feel like that Canadians game killed a lot of like fan optimism just because they're not a good team and it's a team you should beat. But again, this on any given night, any team could lose to any other team. And if you just look at a greater sample size, this team is what, 7-2 in their last 9?
Well, plus then there's the coming out of that game, you have the Tage Thompson injury,
Hmm.
and the next game obviously they win against the Blues, but then the next game they get throttled by the Flyers, and it's just like, oh man, like we're really about to do this heading to the West Coast. You're playing a good Kings team, an Anaheim and Sharks team that have both been playing better hockey. It just didn't seem like there was a lot of hope on the horizon. They would just have to somehow play close to 5. Just don't turn it into a long losing streak. Dude, they won all 3 games. They went 4-1 without Tage Thompson.
It's big.
That is in like it wasn't pretty. None of those games were pretty. I don't think there's a single game you can come out of it saying that they were by far the better team. But dude, they found a way each and every night. I mean, a 1-0 win against the Kings, being down 2-0 against the Ducks. I mean, we all saw the way that, I mean, I guess Christian didn't see the way that game was going, but we all saw the
Oh
way.
no, I did. I did, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. They definitely weren't the better team for when I was watching.
But we all saw the way that game was going, and then bang, 2 goals in less than a minute. And even the third period, like they were sort of hanging on for dear life. But you take it into overtime, you grab your loser point, and somebody has to step up. And it just so happens to be Jiri Kulich getting the overtime winner. And even just that, you're like, huge sigh of relief. No matter what happens the next night in San Jose, the trip's a success. You've gone 2-1.
Hmm.
And anything else is gravy. And they win against the Sharks while trailing multiple times, down 1-0, down 2-1. The penalty differential terrible. The game-winning goal was a shorthanded goal. Just an unbelievable amount of resiliency that you just have to give so much props to this group. I mean, really, it was not the best brand of hockey ever, but god damn it, they got the job done.
Now imagine if this team just stopped taking penalties, where we could be at with the power play humming the way it's been. These could have been big wins, but my question is this brand of hockey sustainable? Can you take this sample size of 8 or 9 games and stretch it out over a season the way they've been playing?
Sustainable for what?
Sustainable as in, winning 3 out of 4 most nights, or, you know, not going on 5-game losing streaks, winning games when they matter in March and April. If they take this brand of hockey that they've been playing the last 8 games, will this translate to the rest of the season and down the stretch into the playoffs? Because like 18-19, we saw them, they found ways to win, but it obviously wasn't a sustainable way of playing hockey because of what happened afterwards.
Well, you're absolutely correct. But the biggest indicator of whether or not it's going to be successful is the same as it was in 18-19. And it's the same as what we've seen now. It comes down to the goaltending. Because, I have my qualms about, they're not the most dominant team at 5-on-5. In fact, the numbers will say the opposite. But it doesn't mean it can't be done. We saw last year the Red Wings almost did it. The Capitals almost did it. Those teams were probably both objectively worse than the Sabres are now. Maybe the Capitals not so much, but dude, those teams were bad. both hit 90 points. And you want to know why? Good special teams, high shooting percentage, good goaltending. What have the Sabres done in this past stretch without their best player aside from Rasmus Dahlin? They got all three of those. And most importantly, it's the goaltending, man. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is hot. And Reimer, look, it's one game, like you said, small sample size. But if that's what you can get, most nights, you're going to win games. You're going to win games. And I'm not saying you're going to go on long winning streaks and you're going to win 4 out of every 5 from here on out. But it's a formula that can take you to the playoffs. It can be done, especially if you have a team that is opportunistic, like the Sabres have been as of late. So to answer your question, is it sustainable? It's possible. It just rides on, can we get Luukkonen? Can we get this Luukkonen for the rest of the season? I mean, dude, in my eyes, he basically had 2 shutouts because the Ducks game, the first goal, didn't even see it. And the second goal, it bounced over his head? Like the Ducks barely beat him clean.
Yeah. And I think you say, is this sustainable? I mean, I think we could fairly say they didn't play their best hockey this West Coast trip, and they still went 3-0. And like Jonas said, it was without our best player, our second best player. So I don't know if this brand of hockey is exactly sustainable, but if we get back Tage and we start firing on all cylinders again, like I think it definitely can be sustainable.
And you also have to think about, what new developments we have coming out of this trip. Jiri Kulich, I mean, I don't think we got any injury news on, but I do think he came back into the game later against
He
San
did.
Jose.
Yeah, he did.
So, he's really emerged. Do they keep him at center? It's the best hockey he's played. I mean, let's jump to the Anaheim game. He was playing like really important minutes. He was in there down the stretch. He took multiple shifts in overtime. It wasn't like he just got that one at the end. He was playing with Jack Quinn and JJ Peterka. Like, dude, I think you have to ride him at this position for now. I think that, maybe, if Krebs goes back to wing, or maybe you do a Cousins at the wing sort of thing. I don't know, but that's a positive development. Jack Quinn also played, probably his best game of the season against Anaheim, and he had some good looks against San Jose.
He had a really nice move into the slot last night, and I think he just missed the top corner of the net, but he's looked better. I feel like he's shooting the puck more. I feel like he's more opportunistic. He's finding open ice in shooting areas, and I think the goals will come, but just like how Cousins kind of started trending upwards, I think we'll see a little bit of that with Jack Quinn.
I mean, we said like, why have Cousins and Quinn even been together when they've been better apart from each other? And
Right.
Quinn, since he's been apart from Cousins, has been a lot better. And I'm not saying Kulik was maybe elevating him, but it's different chemistry, and it looks like it's working out. I mean, Kulik at center. I mean, I don't think anybody could have saw that coming, but he's playing his best hockey. He said after the Anaheim game in his post-game interview, that's where I'm most comfortable playing. He
hmm
played the most there with the Amerks. And one thing, I mean, he, I didn't know he was good at face-offs. I mean, even these past 2 games, I know,
It looks like Bergeron out there,
yeah,
dude.
it's like, what the hell? I didn't know he was good at face-offs. Like, I don't know. It's just, if he becomes, I think in past games he's looked good, but I think that Anaheim game was kind of his breakout game, even though, I mean, he only had 1 point. But I mean, as much as I thought he was playing good, I was stunned that he was given multiple shifts in overtime. And I think he deserved it. But I think if he turns into a center at the NHL level, which no one really thought, I mean, that opens up so much more for your team. I mean, you mentioned Krebs. I think more or less it should be maybe Cousins on the wing because I think Krebs has been really good recently too.
Obviously, yeah, he has the snipe against San Jose, points to the rafters, points to his back, number 19. Yeah, I think he's been playing better as of late. They have options here. I think, um, yeah, I think even the second most sort of remarkable thing about this trip is like JJ Peterka. I didn't think looked too good. Um, But like if you get him like him and Tage just have that sort of chemistry, and obviously so does Alex Talk, and it's like they kind of did this without a first line.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You
They
know, they
even
were
they mixed it up the Sharks game to try and get something going.
yeah. So um, I guess it's not the most encouraging thing in a while that I guess he took a back seat on this trip, but oh well. These guys only play good when this guy only plays good when he's with your top player. Well, your top player is going to be back soon, so there's positive lineup things coming out of this trip, and by far I think Kulich is like one of the best. I think it kind of opens up a whole new door of ideas and options.
Yeah, it makes me wonder once Tage is back and once Greenway is back, like what are they going to do? Because I don't think you could take him out of the lineup. Um, it'll just be interesting to see what they do. I mean, because obviously Tage is your first line center, McLeod's your third line center, so it really comes down to they want to give Kulik that second line center spot? Do they want to give Cousins that second line center spot? And like which one of them is going to be on the wing? Um, or are they going to scratch Kulik and send him back down? But I think that would be the wrong decision right now.
I mean, if you're Kevyn Adams, you're probably still looking to bring. You go 3-0 in the West. You want to reward the group, right? I think they still should still be looking out of house for some reinforcements for this team. Not to say anyone's been playing like extremely bad in a way where they just need to be traded at this point in time, but I still think it's smart, and I think that's what a smart GM will do. I understand doing your due diligence, but you're sitting in a divisional spot around the time where there's a measuring stick of if you're in one and if you're in the playoffs and Thanksgiving, it's like what, like some crazy percentage you're usually in the playoffs at the end of the year. I think Kevyn Adams should really solidify this team making that push for the playoffs with a piece brought in from another team.
What I think ends up happening is I feel like they shift Kulik back to wing, but I feel like the bigger debate is does he stay in the lineup? You know, it's the same old story, man. You gotta play your best players.
Hmm.
And I don't even think they are. Like I don't know why Abe Kubel finds himself in Lindy Ruff's doghouse, but he just is. He's the scratch if they rotate out guys on the fourth line. But like if Kulik's rolling and continues his upward play, you got to scratch one of Lafferty or Mallenstein. Once Greenway comes back and once Tage is back. If Kulik gets sent down, the only scenario I want that to happen as of right now, who knows? Maybe Kulik has his next five or so games, or it's bad hockey. You never know. The only scenario I want him being sent down is if they make a trade, like a middle six edition trade, and Kulik's only way up in the lineup is he doesn't even have one. Like the only way
Hmm.
into it is on the fourth line because that's not going to do him any good. But for now, no, there's no reason that he gets taken out of the lineup. The only thing that I would want to push him out is like a possible middle six, top six edition.
And I think it's interesting too. It's not like Kulik's playing like limited minutes and he's just looking really good. Like Lindy's giving him big minutes and he's trusting him. Like even last night's game, yeah, he got hurt, but I think his last shift was like within 2 minutes left while we were fighting, we were fighting for our lives there. Like
Yeah, it was
he's
when they
been,
had that power play.
yeah, he's been playing in big minutes on this West Coast trip, which I think is a huge sign to show Lindy's showing confidence in him. So I don't think he's gonna be taken on the lineup anytime soon.
I mean, I agree with that. He was playing great, but we all know Lindy's track record with rookies. I mean, I know he said he's changed a lot over the years from when he was here in his first stint, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kulich still is the first guy who comes out of the lineup. And he shouldn't. I don't think he should. I think he's been playing fantastic, but you know, it's a coach operates completely different. And if I've seen a trend from him over the years, it's that, rookies usually play in a more structured role and they usually sit in the press box sometimes. But we'll see in the coming days. We'll see maybe, I don't know, starting Wednesday when Tage comes back, what he's gonna do.
I do want to like jump onto that idea that you were talking about of like reinforcements for this group. Your team just went 4-1 on 4-1 without their best player, swept the West Coast. I mean, you gotta help them out here. Like you got or reward them, not even just help them. Like you need to reward this group. Do you know how much of like a sign of confidence in them that would be if they got another piece right now? Like
Hmm.
don't make the mistakes of the past. You talk about that 18-19 season. You know what would have been great if coming off like a 10-game win streak, I don't know, Jason Botterill goes and adds another forward or another defenseman. I'll never forget that year you watched that team slowly, slowly, slowly die off into the basement of the league, and they did nothing until the trade deadline when they brought in Brandon Montour.
Right.
And it wouldn't have mattered anyways, but like it still it matters for a group like this that is teetering on the edge of good, mid, and bad team. Some nights they're very, very good. Some nights they make you want to pull your hair out, and other nights they're just kind of there. Take a step in the right direction. Like man, like if going 4-1 without your best player, sweeping the West Coast, if that doesn't motivate you to finally invest some capital into them, like Jesus, man, what's going to?
And yeah, you can't be acting like, oh, we're in a playoff spot. This is perfect. And we're just gonna, sit back, let this roster ride it out until, I don't know, the end of the season. Like, there's teams breathing down your neck right now still. Like it is still jam. It is a log jam right now. So it's like you need to put yourself up an echelon. You got to take your play to the next level. And I think adding someone's going to do that.
Yeah, they're breathing down your neck, but also at the same time, this is such an easy opportunity to get ahead of them. This
Yeah.
this Eastern Conference is spiraling. The Bruins just fired their head coach. The Red Wings, I think, are debating about firing theirs pretty soon. The Senators are in like a total downswing. They've lost 5 straight and are
Oh,
talking about like trading some of their core players. It's not a good conference. Like you had like this is your chance. Dude, we've been complaining about this team for weeks and like myself, us included, maybe not JP as much, but like we've been so down on them. Dude, they're third place in the Atlantic. Like when's the last time this deep into the season? It's not very deep into the season, but like they've always, they have that early lead. They always have a good October. Or, last season they were like, were they even in a playoff spot at any time last season? They weren't in third place. Like when's the last time they were in third place in this division? Once again, it was probably 18-19, like this deep into a season. I know they had a good start in 19-20 with Kruger as well. Like, dude, this is your chance. This is like right here, right now. Don't wait for this to spiral. Like I remember I talked so much about last year. Like they always wait for rock bottom before making a decision. Like before firing Granado, before firing Kruger, before making a trade, like even just like making the Eric Robinson trade last year. Like it always took until it was unbearable before they had to do something. Don't do that. Get ahead of the curve. Help your team. At least show, if it doesn't work out, we can at least say that you tried.
I I think this team needs more scoring, but I'd be kind of surprised if they made like a top six, middle six edition right now, just because of kind of the debate we just had. But for the love of God, go get Owen Power a pair. I mean, a pair mate. Like
what are you talking about? We have Yoki Haru here.
I just, it's unbelievable that Owen Power had his best game of the season against Anaheim was unbelievable. I think through 2 periods while he was on the ice, they were out shooting the opposition 17-2. He leads the league for defensemen in even strength scoring, unless that changed last night.
Cal
Um,
McCarr did overtake him.
well, there we go. He led at one point, okay? And Yoki Haru still looks like a liability. Like I don't know how Owen Power played so good against the Ducks when Yoki Haru had a bad game.
The remnants of Jason Bottrill's roster makeup
What
are
is it
still
about?
haunting this team.
What is it about Finnish defensemen, man? Like, why are they always anchors?
Or why they stick around so long too. It's crazy. It's like a cockroach. You just can't get rid of it.
But like to a degree, like they have no choice. Like I like Jacob Bryson, but he's not a consistent top four player. So like he's had a rough few games. It's gonna happen. It's probably, sit him for a game or two, bring him back in to juice the lineup again. Like it's gonna be, unless they don't if they don't do anything, it's just gonna be like this, over and over again. It's gonna be like, okay, Bryson's playing well for a few games, is slowly dropping off. Let's throw Yoki Haru in there. And, maybe he's playing up to par. Well, he's gonna fall back down a few games later. Like, help him out. Help out the team somehow. Like they're not perfect, and it's gonna be a missed opportunity if they don't take this chance and run with it. You might be looking at this stretch right now, being like, man, we were third place in the Atlantic. The division, the conference was spiraling, and like we didn't do anything at the time. Like all the
Just
momentum's
stood
right
there.
now.
Yeah.
This is probably the fifth time I've said this. You swept Western California without your best player. You went 4-1 without your best player. What are they in their last night? 7-2?
Hmm.
Like they're finding ways to win without being a perfect team. Help them out. Like please, you haven't totally helped this team as much as you could have. Do it somehow. Give them some sort of boost. And also, like, I think Tage Thompson's fine. I really do. He's had 2 weeks to recover here. We've really had no indication he's had any setbacks. I think the reason he didn't play in San Jose was because they won the two previous games, and I'm fine with that. But let's say hypothetically, let's say this is a lingering thing. We saw what a injury-ridden Tage Thompson was like. It was last year. Like I don't want to go through that again. But even that team last year was somehow still in the race come February. Give them a boost. Any sort of addition.
Now, where do you think they find that addition?
I
Just
mean,
building off of that,
look,
where do you
man,
think
we've
they'll
laid out
find
the
that?
teams. Pittsburgh's waved the white flag.
Hmm.
You can look at any. I'm sure the Sharks would like to get somebody off. I don't know. Like I haven't looked. I mean, I have looked at some like the Pittsburgh's the best option. Like Michael Bunting's probably like your most realistic target. I don't know. Figure something out. I know it takes two to tango, but like you can it's possible, man. Like he's been
Yeah.
looking. Trades have happened this season. I mean, Timothy Liljegren was quarterbacking the top unit for San Jose the other night. It's possible. You can do it. You really can.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Kevin should be blowing up Barry Trotz's phone and Kyle Dubas's phone right now
They're
because
looking to add though. Like I keep seeing like
why?
Nashville wants
Why?
to add. It's
Add what? You
exactly.
added in the off season.
Well, I mean, I kind of get it. Like, you're in year one of Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea, and they all look terrible. Your team can't score. It's a tough spot to be in.
He'll be pushing the rebuild button soon with three top guys under contract. What is he cooking?
But yeah, maybe there's Gustav Nyquist has been brought up. Like, there's a pending UFA. Like, I think there's guys you can reasonably look at. And look, I'm not in favor
Ryan
of the
O'Reilly.
I'm not in favor of like the whole Trevor Zegras idea, but like it would be something. Like that's clearly a guy that is like I feel like his days are numbered there. I think Frank Saravalli came out with a quote the other day and said like the organization clearly doesn't believe in him. It's
Jeez.
just
Harsh.
like something. Please like take advantage right now. I did want to touch a little bit more on Owen Power, but like yeah, was leading the league in even strength points for defensemen for a full 24 hours, 20 games into the season. We're noted Owen Power defenders on here, but it feels good to take a little bit of a victory lap right then and there. It it does get a bit exhausting trying to defend him over and over and over again. It's like, dude, the guy's good. I'm not saying he's been perfect. I'm not saying he's been Darlene level. I'm not saying he's been some franchise level defenseman, but we all see the tweets, to trade him, bench him, do whatever you want with him. It it gets ridiculous at a certain point for a guy that has been at his worst reliable.
And he's 22 years old, just turned 22. Um, I mean, for the people who want to like bench him or get rid of him, like who's a better option than him right now? Like he's our second or third best defenseman on the team right now. Like it's just I don't know, it's ridiculous. I think he's been better defensively too. I mean, the Jason Zucker goal in the Anaheim game was because of the defensive play of him. Like, yeah, he's not that physical. Okay, he's 22. I maybe he'll develop that. Like Dahlin wasn't physical coming into the league. Um, it's just it's tiring. It's tiring
Hmm.
because he's good. Like deal with it. Like he's one of the best transition players on our team. It's just I don't know. It's tiring. I'm glad we don't bring it up as much as we used to because it's just people won't change their minds.
I also heard something interesting about the the people who are saying, "Oh, he doesn't play physical. He doesn't play like a defenseman should. That's why we should trade him." I was listening to the radio on Saturday. They had Rob Ray on while they were in California for a radio interview, and they were talking about Owen Power, and they brought up that exact line of questioning, like, why isn't he more physical? And he said that talking to Owen Power and his people, he said that it wasn't much of his game growing up because he was so much bigger than everyone. He would immediately take a penalty if he hit someone or if he, ran into someone because it looked like he would body bag someone. So they said that it's a work in progress to work on his, the more physical aspect of his game.
And I don't disagree that he needs to get more physical, like playing defensively. It's just like, dude, like A, he's 22. B, it's
Right.
like you don't need to be physical to be like a,
Exactly.
a decent defenseman. And it's like he's not getting caved in. This is not like his rookie season. And he's contributing offensively. Like I do not understand. I mean, I do understand where the hate comes from. It's just like, man, of all the guys that you could get on over the course of this season, getting on the defenseman even strength point getter. It's just I don't know. He's too good to really deserve that type of uh criticism in my mind.
Agreed.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we have another defenseman on the team that's top towards the top of the league in even strength points. That's also Bowen Byram. Like
Yeah, he's only like two
I think
behind.
yeah, I was gonna say I think he's up there too. So it's like your top three defensemen have all been good this year. I know there's been a little hate on Dahlin too, which I think is unjustified. He takes penalties, but guess what? He's drawn more penalties than he's taken penalties this year. So our top three defensemen have been part of the reason why we've had such a good year so far.
I also think some of the penalties Dahlin's taken were weak calls by the ref. Like last night, like I guess it was a cross check, but he just out muscled the heck out of this one guy. And he just threw him against the boards and then just like immediately the arm goes up. I'm like, looks like that guy couldn't skate. He looked like he couldn't stand on his own 2 feet the way he just got knocked off the puck.
It's so much like it's almost like the Josh Allen discourse. It's like, yeah, like he's gonna do stuff every now and again that just like it's like, dude, like what? Like why would you go for that? Or like why would you do that? But like come on, he's been so damn good and getting mad about penalties, not defensive mistakes, not dumb decisions on the ice. Like I get it, penalties can be frustrating, but A, it's not a issue this year, and B, it feels nitpicky over like a larger sample size. So,
But your captain shouldn't be taking penalties like that. So
well, I get it. Like he does dumb stuff like the Florida game all those weeks ago when he freaking cross checked somebody in the head. I forget.
I think it was a slash. He
Like,
like
yeah, like
he
it
turned
turned and
around and he
slashed.
slashed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's dumb stuff. But if you really like focus on it for more than like 5 minutes, it's a bit much.
I agree with JP though. Like you shouldn't be taking like I think if he gets 5 more penalties, they should take the C from him and give it to Alex Tuck.
it's funny because I was just looking at all of our stats too. He's only third. He's actually fourth on the team in penalty minutes too. It's not even like he's leading the team. Like,
Well, we have been getting quite a number of fights recently.
well, yeah,
Zach
I was
Benson
gonna
was in a
say,
scrap.
yep, yeah, Zach Benson in a fight. He's second on our team in penalty minutes.
That's
That is
ridiculous, dude.
funny.
That is so dumb. That
Yep.
I'm glad they evened it up last night because what he hooked, I think it was Wallman or someone. Like, dude, like the stick is in his chest and somehow it makes him fall down like on his ass. Like, how? Come on, dude. What are we doing here? Thankfully, that justice was served when they got that power play that he drew towards the end there.
Hmm.
Yep. You know who's leading the team in penalty minutes?
Oh man, did anybody get kicked out of a game this
I'm gonna
season?
say it's Connor Clifton
No, he's third though.
or Dennis Gilbert.
No, he's not played enough. Uh, the shit talker himself, Jason Zucker, yelling at the
Oh,
fan in
that's right.
stands.
I was gonna say Jason Zucker got what? He got the misconduct in the
Yeah, he's
Kings game.
27,
Yeah,
but
that was awesome, dude. See that
that was
video of him
crazy.
Hmm.
chirping that Ducks fan in overtime. That's so fun. He's such a high vibes guy. You can tell. He's the best. All right, vibes are high. Teams playing good hockey, good enough hockey to win games. Concernometer. Where are we at? This time last week they were sky high.
Oh yeah, it was my what I had was at like an 8 or a 9, I think. I think for now I'm gonna bring it down to a 6. I think they've been playing great. I think it's been great riding this, vibe train of wins over the last X amount of games, 7-2 in their last 9. But I think what brings me up to the 6 is just, you know, it's still a logjam in the Eastern Conference, and they still need to make a move. I really think that that's where a lot of my concern comes from. It's just that, they're not the most dominant team at 5-on-5. I really think they could use a guy. And until Kevyn Adams brings that guy in, I think that this team is just going to be, in an absolute dogfight down the stretch into April. So I'm going to stick with a 6, but I'll put a little bit of a technicality in it. If the game on Wednesday, which is a notorious game for in Buffalo Sabres hockey because it's the day before Thanksgiving, a lot of people come back to town, a lot of people like to go to that game. If it is like a packed crowd that night, I will move it down to a 5.
So because of the fans, you'll move your
Yes,
concern
the
meter.
vibes,
I
the
love
vibes will
that.
take it down
I
to a
like that.
5.
I like that.
I'm actually. Who do we play Wednesday? Who is it? It's the
Minnesota,
Wild, right? Yeah.
Kaprizov may or may not be out. So the
Okay.
Oh, he's hurt?
yeah, he didn't play yesterday. It was like a last minute thing. He's still dealing
Oh,
with that. His knee collided with somebody in Edmonton. It wasn't like I don't think there were any like ACL worries, but significant time people were worried about. He got an MRI today. It sounds like he's more of a day-to-day thing, so they'll see how he progressive, but they might be without him Wednesday. Vancouver's kind of been spiraling here. Obviously, no JT Miller. Brock Besser didn't play last night against Ottawa. Still beat them. Um, yeah, their goaltending has kind of been a thing. Like this is like these are two vulnerable teams, man. Like both at home, two most packed games of the season. I mean, you talk about the Thanksgiving Eve game last year, I think was the Pittsburgh game at home on Black Friday where they came back and won. Like this is the time. And you could pick up a lot of like notoriety. You win these two games, you're 4 games over 500, definitely in a divisional, well, maybe not definitely in a divisional spot, but definitely in a playoff spot. It's a big opportunity for them.
get the people talking, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wednesday's huge for the fans too. Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of I'm nervous about that game because I feel like it would be completely the Sabres. They go on a 3-game winning streak. They sell out crowd and then they just lay a dud and then everybody's like worried again. But I do hope they play off, the vibes that are going to be in that building because I think both those games will be sold out just because of how they're playing. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Joan and I are going Wednesday, so it should be fun.
JP's
Um,
more nervous he's not going to get a gravy boat.
oh, that's a good point. You got to get there early for the gravy boat. Um, Back to the concern meter though, I'm gonna say a 5. Um, I love obviously that they swept this West Coast trip. The only thing that does concern me, it feels like they've been scoring just enough goals to win games. Like it's not like they've been outscoring teams, and it's not like we've won a game 5-2. Like we won 1-0, 3-2, and 3-2. Like I we need the scoring to come back a little. And I mean our best goal scorer was out. So maybe that's part of the reason why, but I need to see a little more goal scoring to really feel a little more confident in this team.
Yeah, much of what we've talked about in these past few episodes where we really have been down on the team, they still kind of ring true. It's just the difference was, they were opportunistic and the goaltending came through. So much of those problems could kind of be sent down the lineup. But, you know, they were still like good at, like, they didn't get caved in on these trips. And like, that would have been really worrying. I mean, maybe the Kings game they sort of did. But, like Tage Thompson, that ripple effect down the lineup, it really getting him back really like could be huge for this team. And I mean, it should be huge for this team. I think the most encouraging thing really is Luukkonen and even now Reimer. Like if they get the goaltending, like anything's possible. The past few seasons, especially in this Eastern Conference, have proven that you have like 3 teams who live and die by their goaltending, even with middling 5v5 stats. The Rangers are like the most extreme example of that. They have the best goalie in the league, arguably, and the best special teams in the league. And the same thing, we saw that with the Red Wings last year and the Capitals last year. It's a formula that can be done. It's built on shaky ground, but it can be done. So I think once again, not once again, but I think I'm sort of with Christian, like I'm at a 5. 5, maybe on a 6 on a bad day. So, as we said, looking ahead here, Wednesday, they got that Thanksgiving Eve game against Minnesota. Then on Friday, they are also back at home to play Vancouver. And then Saturday, they are in Long Island to play the Islanders. So, that's what's ahead for these guys.
Should we do our picks now since we just looked at all those?
Might as well. I think I predicted 2-1 last. I don't think we did it on the pod. We had to do it after. I think I predicted 2-1.
I did too. And Christian predicted 0-3.
That's what he gets for not being here.
Do I double down?
So this coming week, man, I hate feeling like good heading into a week because it's just going to come crashing down and you're not thinking logically. Let's see. They got another back-to-back in here. I guess I'll just go with like the safe 2-1. I feel like that's fair.
Okay.
Expect a loss against the Islanders.
I'm going to go 1-1-1.
Okay. I was actually kind of
So 1-2.
Yes, an overtime loss. I'm gonna say they beat the Wild on Wednesday.
You can keep it to yourself, like it's 1-1-1, but for record keeping, it's easier for record keeping for me.
I am teetering between 1-2 and 2-1. But I'm gonna ride the vibes. I'll go 2-1, but my guts kind of tell me 1-2, but I'll stick with 2-1.
All right, so that's gonna do it for Sabres talk today. Obviously, a lot to digest. Probably one of the longest times we've spent on the team after some wins. It feels good right now. The vibes are high. Hopefully they only continue to grow. And we'll see how they do this week. Before we move on to our NHL, our more wider NHL segments, we do have to touch on the Amerks. What the hell did we do, JP?
Yeah.
What the hell did we do?
Sorry, this is our fault. I mean, our track record, especially recently, I mean, Jonah was tweeting about the Ducks game. Let's see if we could score on them, on one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And we scored.
That was the funniest thing.
Yeah. But now we say, oh my God, Utica, they haven't won a game yet. What the hell? And they win their first game against the Amerks.
They're missing Roseanne and Kulich, man.
Was it the first one? So it was actually the second one. They actually won Friday night.
Okay. That makes me feel a lot better.
Makes me feel a little bit better, but still, like they were on a second half of a back-to-back in Rochester, and they got blown out. What was it, 5-2?
Yeah,
bad look.
Yeah,
bad look.
I did think that was their first one though, so that makes me feel so much better. I thought that was all our fault, but Amerks are kind of spiraling right now.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help when 2 of their best players are currently with the Sabres.
Yep.
So hopefully things begin to turn around down in Rochester. That one's on us. Moving along here, It's time for America's favorite segment. This team stinks. Christian, take it away.
All right, we're gonna go back to our buddies down the thruway into the Motor City. We're gonna go to the Detroit Red Wings, where I'm starting to notice a common theme within this team, and that is goals. Goals, 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 and more goals. They're one of two teams. First of all, basically sitting in the basement of the Atlantic Division. Also, one of two teams who have not scored 40 goals this season. I mean, 50 goals this season. Anaheim is at 48. They're at 49. That is good for second worst and worst in the league. And if I go to some of their more advanced metrics here, their expected goal differential from the start of the season to now is just, it is heading on a downward trajectory. They're closing in on negative 6.5 to negative 7 territory. And if I go to a more positional player chart, goals against expected goals, man, I can't even like I have to I wish I could show you this clip because I have to like I can't even zoom out, but in the bad category, there are guys, all the names are stacked in the bottom corner of bad. It's just Johansson, Watson, Justin Hall, Petrie, all of these guys just they cannot bury the puck. And Mo Seider is down there too. And that's a guy you'd wish wouldn't be down there, especially him being the touted player he's supposed to be. So they better do something quick because the eyes are planning. Eyes are planning.
I also have to take a little bit of a victory lap here. It seems as if Patrick Kane is not playing his best hockey this season.
Yeah. Well, he could be in his hometown, but he just decided, no, thank you. All right, buddy.
You know, I I don't want to put any bad voodoo on the Sabres here, but if Detroit is basically waving the white flag and beginning to trade some of their assets, I have a feeling that a certain owner would be willing to spend some money to upgrade their team for a potential top six forward.
Are you talking about an American forward by chance?
South Buffalo may be rumbling a little
Like
bit.
like maybe like Casanova area, Lackawanna?
Tell
Hmm.
me you couldn't see it happening, though.
Oh no, I could 100% see it happening. I think Terry would make that drive and with a U-Haul and move his stuff himself.
In division though,
I
I don't
What
mean,
the hell do they
he's
care?
yeah,
No,
it's an old player, man. It's
he's
like
I would guarantee, not guarantee, but I would feel pretty confident saying he's probably just going to go back to the Rangers. Never wanted to leave there. Um, I would assume that if he goes somewhere, it's probably there. So, but I could see it happening, and I would be very mad. I would really hope that like the analytics team is just like banging on Kevyn Adams' door while he's like on the phone with Yzerman. No, don't send him a second round pick, please.
cut the phone lines.
you mean while Terry's on the phone with the Heiserman and Kevin's just sitting there.
Yeah, he's like tied to a chair, duct taped to his mouth, trying everything in his power to stop it from happening.
Terry's on his Nokia 1 trying to get a signal somewhere. He's like, how do I call Detroit?
Yeah, it's not going great for Detroit. I think out of all the coaches in the NHL now, other than maybe Mike Sullivan, I think Derek Lalonde is like the guy next to be fired. But like even then, I don't even think it's like his fault. That defense group is one of the worst in the NHL. And aside from their top line and power play, like that team cannot score any goals. And you talk about the Sabres sweeping the West Coast. Detroit did the opposite.
Oof.
They lost to the Ducks while they were winning. I think they had a multi-goal lead in the third. They lost to the Kings in convincing fashion, and then they lost to the Sharks in overtime. So yeah, it's not going good over there. I've seen some of their fans. They were mad. Who we're going to talk about, Montgomery, who was hired today. by the Blues. Like they thought he was maybe a possibility should they fire Lalonde. It's yeah, it's not going well in Detroit. Which I said at the you guys know in the division preview series we were doing, like I said, like I could see them coming in last in the division. Like, it's bad. It is really bad.
Say it with me. This team stinks.
This team stinks, all right. But while we're on the topic of coaches getting fired, like I saw an interesting post about the Bruins' last three coaches. They've all been hired by different teams less than 10 days after getting fired by the Bruins. And correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Sweeney around for all those coaches?
Yeah, I think he fired Julian. He definitely fired Cassidy, and he fired Jim Montgomery.
Well, I think there's a theme there because I think firing Jim Montgomery was definitely a bad decision. That guy put up an unbelievable season with the Bruins like less than 500 days ago. And I don't know. I don't get it. I think again there's a theme there, and I think the writing's on the wall for that guy. I think he's the next one out the door.
Yeah, it's like I said last episode. Some of those markets, I mean, they're big markets. They keep their teams accountable, but I think it was just way too soon. I think these last three times they fired coaches, like I think it's just an overreaction. Like there's a reason these coaches are getting hired right away because they're good coaches. Like it's not always the coach's fault.
Yeah, and like St. Louis talked about it today. Like they fired him, their coach Bannister, because Montgomery was available.
Like,
And
get the
obviously
hell
he
out of
has
here.
ties to the organization, and he was previously an assistant. But it's almost like the I don't remember the discourse around the Julian firing, but like I kind of not got the Cassidy firing, but like it sounded like he wasn't too liked by the players, and the team was stagnant. They were losing in the second round basically every year, aside from 2019. They so like that's fine, but then he goes and wins a cup the next year, and then they make the same decision with Montgomery. It's sort of like there's a precedent here. Like, are you sure you really want to do this right now? Especially like they were in a playoff spot when they fired him. It's
It's weird.
there's two sides to it. Look at Vegas. Gerard Gallant wins a Jack Adams. 2 years later, he's fired in like mid-January to hire Pete DeBoer. And then even Pete DeBoer, two successful seasons with Vegas, had like a 600 winning percentage, got fired, and they hired Cassidy. So, like, I get it. There's two sides to it, but I think the Blues are just incredibly smart for jumping right on this.
And I think they gave him a 5-year deal. I thought I saw, like right away.
I don't get the coaching contracts, man. None of them ever make it to the end of their contracts.
It's
It makes no sense.
it's very true. Yeah, JP's right. It was a 5-year deal, so quite the ballsy move by St. Louis. Moving along here, did you see? So So we've talked a lot about the Penguins this season, and it's basically over for them. They are officially done. Blown out 6-1 by Utah last night
Tough.
against the who was I forget what, oh, it was against the Jets. So Sidney Crosby hit 600 goals. Awesome moment. Team goes out to celebrate. Later in that game, he dropped the gloves to fight Kyle Connor.
Battle of the heavyweights.
That is how bad things are going there. Like I think we need to take a sec. This is Sidney Crosby, not just one of the best players in the league, getting into fights. Obviously, you don't want that happening. This is Sidney Crosby. Like this guy's career was almost ended by concussions. That's not like that team's cooked, man.
Hmm.
Beyond like they're gonna have a 5-game win streak right after this, but like they're done. Like you cannot have that happening and continue to think what's going on is working.
Man, Pittsburgh has a theme with their sports teams where they just like keep aging players around for way too long and somehow make it work until it all comes crashing down in one fantastic incident. But they're not going to move on from Crosby. I think he should go somewhere. Like they're in a rebuilding phase. He's in the last few years of his career, probably. You got to get him. If I was him, I'd be trying to get out of there.
I was watching I think I was listening to the Steve Dangle podcast, and he had this great story when talking about Crosby, how when Matt's Sundin re-signed, I think it was his last year in Toronto. It was a 1-year deal. It was the 07-08 Leafs. And he said like he really believed like that team could win. And Steve was like, he believed the 07-08 Leafs could win like a Stanley Cup. And like that team was not good. They were scoring overtime goals on their own net. You know,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
they like it's like that. And it's like this Pittsburgh team is I feel like they're definitely better than that Leafs team. You know, obviously they have still so much talent. The core four is still well, the core three is still there. You still got Eric Carlson. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like he still really believes like they can win games. It's just he probably just maybe just doesn't want to move on. But obviously, like it would be like that. Sidney Crosby is still like playing top notch hockey.
Yeah.
That guy deserves to play meaningful games, and it's like he should still retire a Penguin. But I don't know, like, let him go win another cup. It would be much more fun to watch. I know
Yeah, let him come here.
Pittsburgh fans would never ever want to see that guy in another jersey. But you know, you've seen crazy, maybe not crazier players leave, but I don't know. It would be more fun. It probably
We
won't
just
happen though.
we just saw Stamkos leaving Lightning. I mean, not the same caliber player, but almost Lightning lifer, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
They didn't want him back. I mean, he didn't even leave. I think they just didn't want him back.
Well, they
So
didn't want to give him a 4-year deal at $8 million. I don't think he has a even. Does he even have an even strength goal this season?
I don't know. I'm glad the Preds signed him because I mean we were kind of talking about him. I'm glad we didn't do that.
Yeah, that contract would have been messy.
Hmm.
So last thing I did want to talk about here, the Senators Canucks game last night was
Bananas.
bananas from the perspective of like I can't believe like the Sens lost in this fashion. Like it was so like they've hit rock bottom this season. I've seen a lot of their fans kind of complaining online. I'll set the stage. So the Canucks, no JT Miller. Thatcher Demko obviously been out the whole season. Brock Besser was hurt. And Quinn Hughes took a 5-minute major within the first period and was gone for the game. They didn't win. And if it weren't for 2 goals in the last 5 minutes with the goalie pulled, they would have lost 4-1. They didn't, I think they had like one shot on that 5-minute power play. And the Canucks got a late period power play, and that's it. They scored their first goal of the game. It's funny, you know, we talked about them. We talked about like the Penguins, who it's funny to see them like people tweeting out pictures of their attendance. It's like it's very akin. Like we've been there before, and I think like the Senators are going through like their 1920 Sabres season or even the 2021 season where it's like they want core pieces, they want a core piece trade. They want like people are starting to turn on Brady. Like they think like he kind of had like I don't want to call it a meltdown at the end of the game, but like he got into like a bad not a bad fight, but like he got into a fight with like
Oh, really?
three
Brady
minutes.
Kachuk?
He got into a fight with 3 minutes
Never seen
remaining.
that happen before.
It's
Even
just
Stützle went after someone, the diver himself. Like
Oh
they're
yeah, he attacked. Who was it? Hoglander? He went after?
I think it was, yeah.
yeah. Even I think it was at the end of the second period. Kachuk was trying to go at someone, and the ref stopped him. Like that team is yeah. That team is falling apart.
You guys know how I've talked about like Brady Kachuk is like a captain, like an like unbelievably good player. It just stuff like that happens over and over again. And I even saw like a Senators tweet. It's like, yeah, this shit was cute in 2021. It's 2024, and like we're trying to win games, and your captain is getting into a fight down 4-1 with like 5 minutes remaining. It's like it's not going great, and now they sit what 7-11-1. It's Sens being a divisional rival and being so similar to the Sabres, it's kind of funny for me to watch this kind of unfolds because I've had a lot of doubts about this Ottawa core, and it's kind of starting to blow up in their face a bit.
It's
So
always some comedic relief for both sides to watch each organization just mess up constantly.
our good friend John over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast always like hates the Jets probably more than anybody else and is enjoying the whole Aaron Rodgers saga and more than anybody else. And he was like, yeah, he's like the Senators are like my hockey Jets, and it's like, yep, that's what it is for me. I root for their downfall in the purest form of hatred, and
Yep. I don't even think this is too bold of a take, but if this continues through the rest of the season, I'll say right now he's getting traded this offseason. Kachuk's getting traded.
yeah,
Like
I mean
I
that's
just checked. I think he has 3 years left on his contract. Like I just they have to do something. They can't keep running out this team.
I mean you saw the rumors starting to pop up in the off season. It's like it was never going to happen last summer, but it's like the seeds are there. The seeds of doubt are there. Now the fan base is starting to turn on him. It's like
It's
it's
like
not.
the Eichel stuff.
Well, I was about to say it's sort of like Eichel. It's kind of the opposite. It's like everybody called Eichel. They called him a lot of things, but soft is up there, lazy, all that. It's like Kachuk is sort of in that same spot where Jack was, where now he's been the guy that's been there the longest, other than I think Shabbat, and the results really haven't changed. So, I think that is basically gonna do it for this one. Thank you very much for listening. 3 Sabres games this week. We won't talk to you Thursday for obvious reasons. It is American Thanksgiving. I think the Canucks game is at 3 on Friday. It is at 3 o'clock on Friday, so I don't know. Maybe we talk to you Friday. Maybe we just hold the things off until Sunday. I don't know. We'll speak to you guys at some point later this week. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at the Sabre Report, also on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Sabre Report. And if you listen to this on YouTube, you can be sure to like, share, and subscribe. As previously mentioned, go give our friends over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast a listen. They dropped their game recap of the Bills' victory against the Kansas City Chiefs last week, and it was a monster hour, 40-minute episode. So go give them a listen. They do great stuff. I think other than that, I don't really have anything else to add unless you guys do. In that case, we will see you guys next time. And as always, go Sabres.
Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.